Fucking
mugshot.
Yeah. Fingerprint.
You gotta think about what story. It's probably the cucumber story. I'll tell that one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the girl who put the cucumber filter her breast.
Okay, tell us about that.
We're doing it now? No, I meant later. Talking about when we get into it. No, we're just talking.
Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Bullshit Video Games. We're here with another guest. Max, how you doing, man?
Doing good?
Yeah. You got some good China stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, I got some.
You've been here 37 years, I think?
Yeah, it's been a decade or so.
Feels like it, at least.
I don't think anyone can see, but I'm waxing my Fu Manchu right now.
What? Is that culturally inappropriate? Is that insensitive?
Depends on where you are, I guess.
One of my best friends in high school he was a Korean, half white dude, and he used to grow nose hair on the outside of his nose. On the outside of his nose. And it was long hair. It was equivalent to eyebrow hair. And he used to cut it. He used to shave it.
But was it coming from the nostrils?
No.
It was just on his nose?
Yeah, it was on the bridge and the flaps of the nose, coming directly outward.
Could be a missing link.
Well, I was always telling him to grow it out. That's some really unique shit.
That's some good shit.
Yeah.
So I'll tell
at least enough to have a YouTube channel about the guy with nose hair.
Yeah. There was one show with a guy with his whole face was hair, but the hair had made me. I can tell the story. Because it reminded me of this girl. It was just nipple hair. I was thinking of nipple hair. But not a lot, just 2 or 3 nipples. But that brought me back to this girl.
2 or 3 nipples?
Nipple hairs. 2 or 3 nipple hairs.
Were they long and stringy?
It was just
or were they short and pointy?
It was only on one nipple. I don't remember which, but they were long and almost to the point of curling.
Gross.
But not quite. They were silken. But anyways, so speaking of her nipples, there was this girl. It was when I just came to China, and I don't even know how to begin to tell the story. I'll tell it from the end. Okay. So the end,
a Quentin Tarantino, and start with the end.
Kind of like Quentin Tarantino. So at the end, here I was taking a shower, just kind of soaping up, and it was a dingy apartment. I gotta set the scene the shower is all kinds of fucking scum on it and stuff. Mold, black mold is Wuhan, it's wet, it's humid. So it's not a happy shower.
No, it's not a happy shower.
No, it was fucking a prison shower.
Could you stand up in it?
I was it was cramped. I could barely soap myself. So I was doing that. Obviously not in the best of moods, just to get clean. And then this girl I was seeing, she was out on the couch.
The nihilist, right?
Yeah, she was a nihilist, but she was also going to school to be a flight attendant. Of course.
And for people who need to know, in China, they don't give a fuck. They'll just straight up discriminate. You're not allowed to go to the flight attendant school.
She had to be a certain height.
You have to be a certain height and a certain beauty standard.
She had passes on makeup. But anyway, she was
and marching, right?
She was
makeup and marching classes.
Makeup and marching, yeah, because they do the military training. But so she was out sitting on the couch. I was showering, and then all of a sudden, I could hear the door open. And then just huh? And then just screaming at me get out, get out. I was what the fuck? So I came out of the shower and my towel was outside. So I had to open the door. I came out of the shower just naked. The door was open. So in the hallway, there was no one there. But the door to the hallway was open. Very small apartment. So bathroom right across the main door.
Yeah. You're talking about a 10-foot difference from the bathroom to the main door.
Exactly. Tiny.
Yeah.
Right. And so I look over at the flight attendant girl. I was the fuck? And she was even more what the fuck, because it was my apartment. So obviously she was more bewildered than I. And then I looked at this girl, and it's this girl I'd been with, and she got kind of crazy at the end, so I cut things off. And so, alright, so now we can kind of start taking the story back. And so, we'll keep it in the moment, because she looked over at the flight attendant and called her a prostitute. And then she looked at me and she called me a prostitute. I was she's not a prostitute, settle down and stuff. And I was oh fuck. How'd you get a key? So now we can take it back. How did she get the key? Because she just opened the door. She didn't knock or anything.
Did she steal it from you? Or do you think she printed it into a bar of soap and then had one made?
That would be even crazier.
Because there are key people all over the place.
That's true.
When you're walking down the
street.
street.
Made for anything. But she did steal it.
There's key folk everywhere.
She did steal it from me, and the way she stole it, it sounds so crazy, man. Now thinking back about it, I'm having traumatic problems. But so I think she stole it when she started the fire, man. So we've been seeing each other for 3 or 4 months. I told her I didn't want to see her anymore because she was getting weird. And like, it wasn't the nipple hair. I don't care. Sometimes girls.
She was the hairy nipple girl.
Yeah, not the flight attendant. She's trying to be a flight attendant.
Yeah. They check the nipples before. Nipple check is part of the resume.
Yeah.
It's part of your. What's that called? Your document that you bring from high school to college.
Transcript,
yeah. Yeah.
Transcript.
Part of the transcript is nipple pictures, high resolution, 4K.
So her nipples both of their nipples were fine. I mean, I've never had a nipple problem here, but they were a little hairy. So
long conversation about nipples.
Yeah, so anyways, like, she'd start, like, I'd be showering, she'd come in and, like, sit on a stool and, like, soap my body, but not, like, to, like, suck my dick, just to, like, wash me and stuff. Anyways, it got weird, man.
Yeah.
And so I kind of told her, like, I don't want to see you anymore. And she kind of just went silent. And then I was like, all right, fuck, I gotta figure out how to get her out of here. And then, so I was kind of just chilling in my room, and again, tiny apartment, and then I smelled smoke. I was like, oh, well, fuck. Dude, like, fuck. She was a university student, so that's only important because I went to the kitchen and she was burning her books for some reason. In the kitchen, dude. She just had a pile of books and she was burning them. I was like, what the fuck? I don't know what it is to this day. I mean, I've been here, I don't know if that's a cultural thing. I think it's just insanity.
Yeah, just a lunatic.
So I took the books, I still remember, I put them in the sink, and when I turned on the water, it just turned to black sludge. It was like paper ash, and then it was just like a black paste, and I was like, fuck, dude. And I had to go open the patio door because there was smoke. And so, like, I think while I was doing that must have been when she got the key. Because after that, I was like, you're fucking crazy, you gotta go, like, just got her out of there. And yeah, so she must have gotten the key then. So now flash back to the future when the flight attendant's staring at me. Actually, I don't know if she became a flight attendant, so I shouldn't say that.
She probably dropped out. You probably ruined her life.
Probably. So the potential flight attendant, who had so much potential, was staring at me. And this girl, who will remain nameless, who was like yelling at me and all this shit. I think I put a towel on. But
Let's be honest, her name was probably Apple or some shit like that.
Well, I don't think she had any.
It was probably Summer. Probably like Ice.
Ice, yeah.
It's probably like coffee.
Candy. Yeah. Coffee. So I remember the only way to get her out was I had to open, because I like heard someone in the hallway. And as soon as I heard someone, I was like, fuck, I can extricate myself from this situation because she'll be embarrassed.
Yeah, face. Right?
Even though, obviously, I'm losing a shit ton of face, but who cares?
Yeah. You're American, your face can't get any
So I opened the door, I was like, go! I'm like standing there in the towel, and this other girl comes and peers around the door, and there's this old man who was looking, I was like, whoa! Like, what the fuck, dude? And she's yelling at me and shit, I was like, go, like, go! And like, so she looked at him, he looked at her, it was like a standoff, and then she just left. And so now, I don't remember the timeline, but the craziest part of this story, the culmination of everything, was with the potato peeling. So, I can't remember if this was, I'm guessing it must have been before the incident where the future potential flight attendant was there, and after the book burning, but I don't remember. But anyways, fucking crazy, dude. Maybe it was when she burned her books. I don't remember. I think I fucking repressed this shit. And like, I just remember coming out again in my room. It's a tiny apartment, so you come out of the door and you're there, and everything's there. And she was just sitting there in her bra with a potato peeler to her breast, dude. With like white downy breast and saying all of this crazy shit. I was like, fuck.
Like threatening to stab herself?
Yeah, dude, at me or something. But it's like a potato peeler. So it's kind of funny, but it was still like menacing. I was like, oh god. And then, so like whenever I peel potatoes now, I just can't help but think about that. Just be sitting there peeling the potatoes like,
yeah, PTSD.
Yeah, so that's probably the wildest. It was just a series of events. It wasn't even a story. It was
you radically changed that old man's life, the guy in the hallway.
Yeah.
You know, what if he's had no contact with foreigners his whole life, like just came from the farm, right? And he's just walking through the hallway and the door opens. And there's this fucking tall, naked foreigner with this crazy girl, like, fucking stabbing herself and burning books, and this other girl in the background, like, what's going on?
With perfect nipples?
Yeah.
Like on the transcript.
Flawless nipples.
Flawless nipples transcript.
And she's, like, 6 feet tall.
Yeah, dude.
And you're like, go, go, go.
It reminds me of, because I know you like Hunter S. Thompson, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. There's that one scene where he like goes in the bathroom. I don't know if you remember. He's like, so the Hunter S. Thompson, like in the movie and the book, he goes in the bathroom somewhere. And there's this guy who's like, hey, you want to do some LSD?
Yeah.
He spills something on his shirt.
What's that on your arm, man?
He said something like, and then this like banker from Tulsa, Oklahoma walked in. And like,
hippie's licking stuff off his arm.
He's licking his arm. He's like, he like saw levels of depravity he'd never known again.
Yeah.
And now every time he goes to the restroom, he like can't, whatever.
Yeah, he can't stop thinking about like untold pleasures that men in strange jackets are having or whatever.
Dude, exactly. It was exactly like that situation. It was just this whole fucking world of depravity.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
There's some other stories that I wasn't there for that I want you to tell.
Yeah.
Tell the story about Jerry going off with the Nigerians to pick up.
No. That was a good story. I don't know how to tell it.
Start from the beginning.
But people
fucking
can't see me, right?
Tarantino. You can see the microphone, but there are hidden cameras everywhere.
Right, so anyways.
I only have a $30 microphone, but there's $1,000 worth of hidden cameras in this apartment.
Yeah, I'll just say we weren't sober.
Yeah.
We weren't by any means.
You were ruthlessly smashed.
Yeah, and paranoid.
Yeah.
For reasons.
And rolling, probably.
Perhaps. so anyways.
Allegedly.
So they say. Anyways, we went to, I just remember getting Skittles, and that was weird. So we'll
Skittles in China.
Yeah, dude. I find them, and the lady was speaking Chinese, and which was weird. I don't know why.
Were they like boiled ham and like pig beak flavored?
They were, but it was just weird because like, yeah. But so we went to prison.
Yeah,
I think Jerry was.
Prison's a dive bar here in Wuhan. They didn't actually go to jail.
And prison,
not yet.
Not until this airs, and I have to flee the country. But prison is a dive bar by any measure.
Yeah,
like you could compare it to a dive bar in like what? South side of
you could compare it to like a theoretical dive bar in like a novel.
Yeah,
like the quintessential symbolic dive bar.
It's fucking filthy. Like, yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
So we went there and we were drinking. Yeah, it is great. And we were drinking. And we're like, we want to get a little something to smoke, but we couldn't. And it was like going through a dry period. There was a period of time it was hard to find. We couldn't go to normal places. But of course Jerry, right? He was all about it.
Mild-mannered Canadian man.
Jerry Jimenez, full name. And so
he
was like, I gotta get some man. Like, I don't know how he met these guys, but they were Somalian. Yeah, Somalian. And this was when Somalian pirates were in vogue. This was like the height. This was like the pinnacle of piratism.
Like they had just been parodied in South Park.
Like every day, yeah. They're in South Park every day in the news, like pirates are everywhere from Somalia. Vice was there, and he's like, I know these Somalian guys. I'm like, alright, cool, man, because I don't care. But it's scary. Anyways, Jerry's like, alright, I'm gonna go with these guys. Like, they know where to get some. I'm gonna go meet them. Alright, cool, Jerry. Awesome. We'll stay here, and then we're gonna go to Helen's. Or we went to Helen's first. Anyways. We ended up at Helen's, and it was half an hour, and time was just going by. Mm-hmm. Now, all the time in the back of my mind, we were like, where's Jerry?
Were you at the good Helen's?
It was Guanggu Helen's.
Yeah.
When it was good.
Yeah.
Helen's now is fucked up.
The good Helen's. So Helen's is a chain bar, and the good Helen's, we all call it the good Helen's because it's just the Helen's that all the foreigners go to because it happens to be equidistant to a bunch of universities that have large foreign populations. All the other Helen's in the city are like 99% Chinese. This Helen's is consistently like 50% foreigners.
But now it's pretty fucked. They changed the menu and stuff.
Yeah, it's become more mainstream.
Yeah, but so we were there.
Back in the days when we were doing the Macarena all night. They would just play the Macarena on loop and have the foreigners do it.
So constant Macarena. And we were there and like Geraldo, Jerry Geraldo or Great White North, if you know what I mean. Mounds of poutine. Jerry Jimenez's best friend. He started to get worried, and so he called him. And then I just remember Jerry was like, yeah. He like sounded really scared. He's like, yeah, it's okay. Like I'm in the car with these guys. Like, and they're just taking me somewhere. We're gonna go meet up with some other guys.
So Jerry, the mild-mannered Canadian fellow.
So mild-mannered. The
so
nicest guy.
So straight.
So wonderful. Like
the first week I met him, he invited us all to his apartment just out of the blue and made pancakes and bacon for everyone. And he had like fucking maple syrup from Canada.
He's like, you want more maple syrup, guys?
Like, oh my god, Jerry.
It's like heaven, man.
Love you.
He's just in a taxi, like, with all these Somalians, and we don't know where he's going. It's been like 45 minutes. He said he'd meet him. It'd take like 20 minutes, and we're just all like getting more and more paranoid.
Yeah.
And I think we even met some guys and they smoked us out, like at Allen's, of course. So like that didn't contribute.
That was the place to go to find it.
And so then we started calling Jerry, because after that it was like another 15-20 minutes. Kept calling him, no answer now. And now we're like, well, fuck, dude.
Jerry's dead.
We've watched enough CNN to know what happens. You know what I mean? Like, locked up abroad, like, ransom, whatever.
Yeah.
And eventually, I don't know how long later, he just showed up with all these Somalian guys. It was like, yeah, he was like introducing us, and they're all shady. And like, he's like, Jerry's all happy.
Maybe they took him off to kill him, but then on the way, they were like, this guy's the nicest guy we've ever met. We can't kill him.
No, you can't kill Jerry. Because they're guys, like, menacing, you know. I mean, I don't know if that's safe to say nowadays, but, you know, they'd be menacing from wherever they came from. And
Jerry's probably, like, the godfather of their children now.
Yeah, he was like, oh, here's this guy, like, he loves blue, the color blue, or whatever. Like, this guy's, like, favorite movie is Good Will Hunting. It's like, all right. And then that was it. But and some of that's embellished. I don't think the guy's favorite movie was Good Will Hunting, but I remember for sure it was just, we were tense because Jerry disappeared with these unknown Somalians in the middle of Wuhan. Like,
and you met them in prison.
Yeah.
Pretty sketchy place to meet people.
Them in prison,
yeah.
Prison. Should we tell the story about the prison fight?
Yeah. So, I'll tell what I remember.
All right.
So I remember we pre-gamed at your apartment. At that point, I was living on your couch.
Yep. For like 2 months.
Yeah. I was on your couch for like 2 months.
Actually living on my couch. Literally. Not crashing on my couch.
It wasn't a temporary situation. There was nowhere else to go.
So I was like acid print.
That was fucking brutal, man. That couch was a piece of shit.
It was so bad. It wasn't a couch. It was like wood with like 80s upholstery.
It was like 4 feet long as well. I had to sleep diagonally with like my whole body from thigh down on the floor.
You may as well have just slept on the floor.
Dude, it was so cold. In a fucking concrete apartment with tile floors. It was freezing. Literally wake up with hypothermia. But we pre-gamed at your apartment, and I think we had rum and like a case of beer. It was me, you, Chris, and Andy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Andy's such a ridiculous
character.
That's
why shit escalated.
Dude, I wish he was still in the city. He would be a great interview.
Oh, fuck.
And I was still getting used to how crazy China is. I was blown away that we could just get booze at the local corner store and then drink it on the way to prison. Yeah, and so we all picked up a 4-pack of tall boys and just pounded them. And it was only like a 5-minute drive to prison, so we drank as aggressively as possible. Yeah. We got to prison, and I remember everyone in the car, as we were driving, we all decided that we wanted rum and cokes when we got there. Yep. And when we got there, it was pretty empty, so like that alcove was open with the couches.
With the couches, yeah. The best place in prison.
The best spot in prison. Have you seen it recently? They redesigned it.
Really?
Well, the alcove is still there, but they have like a whole stage for DJs and bands and stuff. It's pretty nice.
Nice?
Yeah.
It sounds like what's that called when they go to like Harlem and they put a Starbucks there?
Gentrification?
Yeah, it sounds like gentrification.
No, but previously you had to
like a blood stain.
No, man. Previously, like you had band people getting stabbed and shit because you had to like walk through the band to get between the bar and the dance floor.
Classic feng shui, man.
Yeah. Anyway, so we got to the bar, and I remember we were at 16 rum and cokes. And I tried to take like a whole armful of rum and cokes all at the same time, and I dropped like 6 of them. Yeah, we had 4. We wanted 4 each. And then when we got back to the table, we sat down. There's some random people sitting with us, and I remember Andy started haggling over a bottle of absinthe with the owner.
Classic.
Because it was like a 1,200 or 1,000 kwai bottle, and we ended up getting it for 200. And somehow the only stipulation was that the owner gets to drink with us. It's ridiculous.
Dude, that's some Andy's.
Yeah. And of course, she was a young woman. Yeah. And man, and I remember we took a single shot of absinthe, and then Chris evaporated, like he just disappeared. God knows where he went. Turned invisible. We all got chow mein, some fried noodles.
Which they used to have the best out there.
Yeah, it's not anymore. They made it illegal. It's hard to get now. There's actually an alleyway here by the university that just started doing barbecue and chow mein. And it's like a little hangout spot there. All the students go over there and get fucking wasted, apparently.
Nice.
It's nice. Dude, this place is getting better by the day. Right before I leave.
Yeah, that's how it always
goes. This little corner store right here, this little cafe, just got taken over by new management. I was there yesterday, and in English, one of the owners came up to me and asked me whatever I want, they'll stock.
Damn.
And they already have Western pasta, and I was like, get Western tomato sauce, get peanut butter, get orange juice, get all these things. She's like, we'll have them tomorrow. Damn. I'm like, God damn it! I think I need to stay. But anyway, back to the story. We were shooting this absinthe, and we had almost finished the bottle. And I remember there was a guy from Afghanistan sitting next to me, and he was hammered. And he was like laying out on the couch next to me, and like drunkenly explaining to me why he's happy that America is in Afghanistan, because if it wasn't America, it would be Russia or China. Yeah. And I was like, this is one of the most ridiculous conversations I've ever heard. And then all of a sudden you hear like glass break, and you hear people shouting, you see chairs and tables flying over, and like what were the groups? It was like a group of Middle Eastern dudes and a big group of Chinese guys, right?
All I remember is picking some guy up. So that's all. So you said I'll tell my part of the story, but you just tell the story because I remember very little.
Very little. All right.
But I remember. That's what I remember.
I remember. I think it was like 4 Middle Eastern guys against like 7 Chinese guys, right, and they just ran right over the Chinese guys. One of them got bottled. A couple of them got hit with objects, and then the Middle Eastern dudes just ran, of course, because it's China. Like they have no chance of being on the right side of the law because they're foreigners. So they had to run. And the Chinese guys were just in disarray. And I remember me, you, and Andy immediately jumped in and like broke up the fight. Yeah. Because they're all tiny.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Yeah. So that's why all I remember is like seeing this shit breaking off, coming up and just picking a grown man up and holding him under the armpits.
A grown man who's like 110 pounds and 5'1".
Being like, no. And just like holding him, dude, off of the ground like a child.
It was like separating children.
I swear I looked across and you were holding a guy too. Do you remember?
I remember pushing people away. And like, I remember, again, we were smashed by absinthe and rum and everything. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it was more violent than I remember, but in my mind it was like extremely peaceful. Yeah, dude, it was like separating children. Like no, stop.
I swear I remember.
Don't do that.
Holding this guy, looking over his shoulder, and seeing you holding a guy.
I probably was.
I was just laughing, dude. Holding these grown men there trying to fight, just like holding them up.
I remember for some reason I got an instinct to pretend that I knew something about medicine, and the guy who got bottled, his face was so jacked up, and he was like stumbling and stuff. I went over and I like grabbed him by his shoulders, and I'm like, let me look at you, and then as I said that, I realized I don't know shit about medicine, and I was like, you're alright.
Suck out the poison. Let me just suck out the poison.
I was like, looks okay, you'll be fine. And then went back to drinking, I suppose. I don't remember anything else.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, talking about face. I think that's the only time I've gained face in China in 4 years in China. Because we went back to the table where the owner of prison was there, and we just broke up the fight. And I remember it going well after that. Yeah, I don't remember much.
Must have been, because I mean that's was hero shit.
Heroic. Or maybe she thought we were bastards.
Or maybe we remembered it wrong.
Maybe we started the fight. I don't remember. What was Andy doing during the fight?
So Andy, who knows? So about Andy, like I remember I think the pinnacle of Andy's stories, and really, his name was Ata.
Mm-hmm.
But
not to get sidetracked, I think the prison night, I'm not sure, it might have been Helen's night, was the night where he came home and I convinced him to sleep on the air mattress.
Oh, okay.
Remember? And the air mattress deflated because it had a big hole in it. and again, everybody, you need
Probably
to understand that there's no central heating.
No, there's nothing. And there's no insulation.
There's no insulation.
It's just concrete.
It's just concrete on concrete on concrete.
So in the winter, concrete just becomes cold. And it just retains cold.
It's ice cold and it just saps the heat out of everything. And so, like, for example, we all wear slippers indoors in China because if your bare feet are in contact with the floor, you will be ice cold at all times. You'll be hypothermic. Yeah. And so we got home, and I don't know if it was that same night, but we were hammered. And he, like, immediately collapsed onto the couch because he thought he was being nice, giving me the air mattress. And I was like, no, man, you take the air mattress. But it had a giant hole in it, so I knew it would deflate. And so, of course, he woke up flat on the ground, like, probably next to death.
Yeah. Must have been almost.
Oh, man, classic.
So
yeah, tell us about.
Oh, there's so many. Just fucking.
Yeah. To give people a little update, last time I heard about him, he was in Dubai managing a water treatment facility or some shit like that.
Yeah, with his uncle. So because there's two sides. There's the dark and the light. So the light side was we could go anywhere, and he'd just be like, yo, man, we're going to this place. I'm like, okay. Because I knew as soon as we got there, he knew someone. Yeah. And we'd drink for free. Yeah. Or like, he knew everyone.
He would just hook it up.
Yeah. He knew everyone.
He could do anything.
He knew the managers, even if he didn't know the managers, go speak Chinese to him, fluent Chinese, and just get things. Right? Or fluent enough. I can speak Chinese.
Who knows? Yeah. Fluent enough to haggle over a bottle of absinthe.
Or he'd know the people there, like, he'd be like, okay, this is like Shalak Shalom or something. Like, you go, dude, for example.
Is that culturally insensitive?
For example, man. Dude, it was. Like, I remember these guys, man. So he'd be like, go up, say, happy birthday to him, and we'll drink for free. I go back, happy birthday, man. Oh, thanks. Like, here's some whiskey. But, so there's the light side, and then the dark side, like, I remember he telling me a story. He was out with these Russians, and there was this restaurant in Hankou where they had, like, a goose. Mm-hmm. It was like a pet goose. It was just like part of the scenery. It's China, right?
Yeah. Have a goose walking around the apartment, around the restaurant. It's not a big deal. It's pretty normal.
So they ate dinner, and then they stole the goose. And they ran, and then they somehow got in a taxi and took it home.
Classic.
And then,
of course, the Wuhan taxi doesn't question it. Like, oh, you have a goose? No problem. So come in.
Andy, outside of his apartment, and this is just like a big apartment block. It's not like it's the farm. He slit its throat and bled it out, like halal style, and then they cooked it. This person's pet goose, dude. So yeah, there's a dark side. That's so that's the dark side, man.
That's pretty dark.
But like, some stories, like I remember we went to this pool party, and it was all like Russian, and then...
Was that the rooftop place?
No, this was like at his friend's university, and it was like all... So it was all Russians, Turkmenistani, Kazakhstan...
What?
Kyrgyzstan?
Yeah, that's a place.
And so like it was all dudes and then Russian chicks. And all we did was drink like 7 bottles of tequila.
Naturally.
8 men. I remember at one time I was like arm wrestling this guy.
Naturally.
And they're like, you know what his name is? It's Volva. I was like, Volva? They're like, no, it means pistol. And then he's like, and then we're like arm wrestling. I'm like, fuck, arm wrestling pistol. He's like,
it means grizzly bear death.
They're like, you think he wouldn't kill you? I'm like, dude, I don't fucking know, man. And it's just like, all shit like this, dude, with the Russians, it's always like hyper.
It's so extreme,
like masculine, like,
and the Russian women are insane as well.
Yeah, no, they're crazy, dude. Yeah. So it was just shit like that. Like I remember July 4th, one of my most shameful moments in Wuhan. I shouldn't say most, but I remember it was July 3rd. It was no occasion, but we went out, and it was like me, Andy, this guy Volva, Pistol, right? This other guy. I don't know if pistol means Volva, anyways.
Volva means pistol.
Yeah, but it was like 3 bottles of vodka. And that was the drunkest I'd seen Andy, because we went out of the KTV. We were just in there drinking vodka, singing.
Yeah,
very Russian, very Chinese. We came out, Andy, boom, in the street, like in the gutter. He was passed out in the gutter. It was 7 a.m. The lights were out. We're like, what the fuck happened? So I was like, fuck this. I left him in the gutter because fuck that. I got on the bus, sat down next to this nice, lovely lady, and immediately vomited all over myself. And I was wearing a USA shirt because it's the 4th of July, man. I was like, America. And then this lovely, like auntie, you know, they'd say here, like maybe 40, 50. Yeah. She took these, like, Kleenexes out of her pocket and started wiping me off, dude. And I was so ashamed and embarrassed. And I just got off the bus and the next stop vomited again and walked home somehow, dude. And it was just shit like that. Like, it was always too much alcohol, like, too Russian.
You just reminded me, like, when I came to visit you, it was in the wintertime. And I only brought one jacket you remember that?
It was like a work jacket?
Yeah, it was like a construction jacket. And it had, I forgot about this, but it had a giant American flag patch on one shoulder.
So sketchy.
And so I spent 2 months getting smashed around China, just representing America with a big ass flag on my shoulder.
I'm sure the embassy was so proud. And speaking of your apparel choices, like, I wish we had cameras, because so, like, the camera can't see, but I'll paint the scene.
There is no camera.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
The microphone can't see.
It's not like a video podcast.
This is my best shirt.
For the listeners, I'll paint the scene. Like, so Brian's wearing a Montana Grizzlies. We both went to University of Montana. He's got his Montana Grizzlies shirt. I think I have a shirt from the same time. It must have been the exact same time.
Yeah.
My shirt looks like I bought it yesterday. His has 1, 2, 3, like 5 holes, a big armpit hole, holes in the front for some reason. The writing's all faded.
I have a lot of chest hair. It's very abrasive, okay? It eats its way through the fabric.
Bro. But this shirt looks like it's been through war, man.
Dude, I can see through it. It's so thin.
And, like, the thing is, like, we're just in your apartment, but I know you'll wear it outside. Like,
I wore it outside today.
If we could, like, go to the bank or something and you'd wear it, like,
for sure.
go apply for a new passport. And he's wearing this shirt. So that's just one thing to understand.
Dude, I don't know when the last time I washed this shirt was. All of the edges are frayed open. Dude, I love this shirt. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I bet it's really comfortable.
It's so comfortable.
I bet.
Man, I need to get a new one. How much belly hair do you have? Do you get belly button lint? Oh man. Fucking Patchwork Adams over here. Why doesn't your belly hair connect to anything else? It looks like you wax all around it.
I don't. That's natural, man. Fuck you.
But for people who can't see, he's got a shitload of hair just around his belly button and nothing anywhere else. Totally smooth.
No, it goes down to my bush, obviously.
Dude, look, this is a
dude. You have nothing there, you woman.
Dude, okay. This is a smooth transition of hair.
Ryan looks like your average Albanian woman or something. Like his belly is like. He's got like what do they call it? Like a fucking...
A happy trail, all the way down. That's right. That's right.
Like a trail of despair.
It's basically like a subliminal message. It's an arrow all the way down to my dick. But this is a transition of hair, an even transition from side to side and up and down.
I was starting to feel self-conscious until I saw that. I have like a nice this is like a nice patch.
It looks like pubic hair. It doesn't even fall in one direction. It's in all directions. It's totally fucked up.
It's not pubic hair. That's like normal belly hair. You have like leg hair on your belly.
Mine looks like it was combed. This is natural.
You have like leg hair on your belly, man.
Anyway, how much belly button hair or lint do you get?
A fair amount, but I just pick it out when I get it.
Of course. I don't leave mine in there.
Like measure it.
Well, I need it first of all. I want to waste it. But does it change color with the shirt you're wearing? Because like I'm wearing a red shirt today, it will be red today.
Yeah, so that's fun. I do appreciate that.
I appreciate that as well. Yeah.
It's like it's like other things.
I spend a lot of time here in my office, and so every now and then I sweep up. And of course, it's China, so there's so much dust. Yeah, and so I wonder what percentage of it is belly button lint.
Yeah, well, they say like dead skin cells too. That's like 1 million pounds. I don't know. Dude,
some fucking number.
To the listeners at home, you can just
Google that.
Google, yeah. Well, it's like 1 million pounds of belly button lint, skin follicles or whatever. But yeah, so much dust in China. That's something for the people at home. Like, okay, so for the people at home, I feel like I'm on radio now. I'm so confident in this podcasting world. But anyways, to the listeners at home, our esteemed listeners, it's like I have this outward facing window, And so I have to...
wait, what? As opposed to an inward-facing one?
Sorry, I forgot most windows face outward.
You have a piece of glass.
So I have a window.
In place of where a wall would be.
It's just
a window.
It's a window, man. But it does face outwards, like into the shit. I mean. And then there's a screen.
I forgot that you live in Jiangshan, so it could actually face shit.
I think too is like living here too long. I can't speak English. Like I forgot all windows face outwards.
Also, you say maybe all the time. I'm trying my best not to say that. It's because Chinese people just say maybe all the time.
True.
It's like their filler word as they're learning the language.
Maybe.
And so my students will be like I'll tell them we have a test on the 5th, and then the next day of class they're like, hey teacher, do we maybe have a test on the 5th? I'm like, maybe we do. And then I correct myself. I'm like, no, we fucking definitely do. 100% fucking definitely. Yeah, not maybe. Fuck maybe.
So certainly, I'm losing the language.
Yeah,
but this window, anyways, every 2 days it's covered in dust. I wipe it down with like a wet rag, and then 2 days later it's a thick dust.
The dust here is shocking.
Yeah, the dust it becomes a thing. It's not like
it becomes a layer.
Yeah, it's not particulate. It's like
layer.
Yeah, exactly. It's all together.
Yeah,
it's fucked up.
You can sweep and mop your apartment 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And each time you'll have a grotesque amount of dust.
Yeah, we got a vacuum just to see. I like to see it.
Yeah.
And kind of get it.
That's gross.
Hard. I like look at it and I count it.
Sniff it.
Oh, it's dusty. It's dusty.
Did you have to explain to your woman why Americans don't wear slippers in their home?
Yeah, so I told her it's just because it's clean.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
And then she was like, no. I was like, okay. Dirt is not as dirty as someone pissing or spitting or
industrial
oil,
industrial waste.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, you've seen for sure, like from a restaurant, they'll just bring a plastic barrel of all the scum.
Yeah.
And they'll just dump it on the sidewalk,
in the sidewalk.
gutter. Yeah. Like, you've seen that.
When you're walking down the sidewalk in China, you'll often find that there'll just be like a river of blackened bricks in front of a restaurant. Is because every single night, at the end of the night, they take all the dirty oil and all the scum and all that shit, and they go out and just dump it right in front of the front door, just right onto the sidewalk.
Exactly.
So it's like permanently stained the bricks.
Yeah. so that's why I told her like we always took our shoes off at home, but we just wear barefoot.
Yeah, barefoot.
Because it's clean.
Yeah, and
even if someone visited and they didn't take their shoes off and they walked in, it's just dirt.
Yeah,
I'll go outside to the backyard and walk in the dirt.
Dirt.
Yeah, it's soil.
Yes.
It's fucking Mother Nature, dude. It's
fuck.
Gaia.
Oh, I forgot that you were from the mountains. I came from the soil.
But she's like, she couldn't understand it. I was like, well, it's different here. Like, look at people's... like, just someone, like, you walk by, someone's holding a baby, shitting, like, in the street.
Yeah.
I saw a grown man shitting.
Oh, yeah, I saw that when I first, not when I was here crashing on your couch, when I came to work. Yeah. And I was taking that long-ass bus through the construction war zone to Guanggu, or to Hangshan.
Oh, I saw some grim stuff there.
Dude, one day I was waiting in traffic, and I was on a double-decker bus, because the 789's double-decker. And I was sitting there, I was looking out, and we were just stopping traffic for like an hour, of course, without moving. Yeah. And there was a young man, probably in his mid-20s, in a suit, like a black suit, white shirt, black tie. And he had his pants down around his knees, and he was holding a briefcase in one hand, and he was on his phone on his other hand, in the Chinese squat, just shitting into a storm drain. right next to the bus.
So the listeners back home...
I could see his bush.
Won't believe this, but it's true.
Yeah.
This shit happens like this.
Just happens. So it's just the way it is.
I'm not even shocked.
Not even shocked. Yeah.
Like, I think that's funny.
And when you talk about the baby shitting, like, it's regardless of the setting. It doesn't matter.
Indoors. Shopping
on an airplane.
Oh, yeah. Oh, anyway.
On a train. Yeah. You can go to the mall and you can be, like, standing in front of Nordstrom's where everything in the store is, like, $500. And there'll be a baby having explosive diarrhea into a garbage can in the Nordstrom's.
5 feet away from the toilet. That's the thing. That's what I never understand. There's like a toilet there. It's not like there's
the toilets here are. I mean, like if I had a baby, I wouldn't bring the baby to the toilet.
To be fair,
it's a biohazard.
About your shitting, I don't know if you've talked about it, but the only other place I saw people shit outside was in Morocco.
Oh, yeah?
And it was like in this square, and there was like, I remember vividly, it was during Ramadan, there was all these prayer, it was like the call to prayer. It was very like, real like, atmospheric, you know what I mean? It was like, it was sundown in this like ancient city.
Yeah.
There's a call to prayer blaring.
Mm-hmm.
We're like in this park.
There was a heavy feeling in the air.
Yeah. I look to my left, and there's this dude in full get up, like Moroccan get up, just shitting in the middle of the park, like not even obscured by anything. I was like, God, look. Like, why you tell me to look? I was like,
Leon, look. She's like, whatever. It looks like Jack Shot.
And so, to be fair, you've shat in public. So I don't know if this topic's been broached.
Well, I like to play fair here. Okay. I lived in America for 22 years.
Yeah.
How old am I? 28?
28, yeah.
Shit, did I live in America for 24
you're
years?
15 days older than me.
It doesn't make sense. I feel like every year that I'm in China, it's like time back home moves forward faster. Like, I feel like I came to China when I was 21 or 22, but the math says that I was 24.
Yeah, because you must be older, because I came here when I was like 21.
But I graduated when I was 22.
When did you come to visit? Was it the summer after you graduated?
Yeah, it was like right after I graduated.
So you were like 22.
Yeah. So then, but I wasn't home for 3 years. I was home for like 11 months.
Oh, okay.
Between visiting and coming
after
back.
I graduated, before coming to China, those 3 months, or 2 months, or whatever it was a lifetime.
Yeah.
I was just sitting on the couch like...
Oh, shit. I was working like 16 hours a day. I was so ready to come to China. I was like, fuck. Anyway, so yeah, in my whole time in America, however long it was, however many decades and plus, I shat once outdoors. And it was on a Sunday gun day with Steve-O, the giant, the Sasquatch.
Yeah, no, literal giant.
Literal Sasquatch.
By Indian standards.
Yeah,
I mean,
like probably, like birthed from a stone. Like he budded from a stone one day.
Chip out full of bark.
Yeah, exactly. And so, to people who don't know, the Sunday Gun Day experience, I was always like the East Coast city boy, and so they took pride in taking me out and showing me their ways. So you wake up early, and you drink the night before, but you explicitly drink bottles so that you have targets to shoot at. All right, you're not drinking for fun. All right, it's for a purpose. So then, the next morning, Steve-O arrives at my house with his roommate and his dog and a trunk full of guns, like full of guns. There's like 20 guns in the trunk. And he picks me up and the guns I have. And we drive into the mountains for like an hour. But before we go, of course, as Montana, we stop at like a gas station and get a bottle of whiskey. Mm-hmm. And you drive in the mountains and you just spend like 4 or 5 hours shooting and drinking. No breakfast or anything like that. And usually toward the end of the shooting, you start shooting things, living things, because you want to take something home to eat. But on this day, he organized a big barbecue. And so we went back to his apartment, or maybe someone else's, because he didn't have a backyard at that point, and we were at someone's house that had a backyard and a barbecue. And all these different hunters from town came over. Okay. And so it was a smorgasbord of only meat. There was like bison and elk and deer and fucking cow and pig and every animal and squirrel and rabbit and everything you can imagine. And so all I had that day was whiskey and meat. Poorly cooked meat, by the way. Mm-hmm. For some reason, the Montanans didn't like cooking their meat, so almost everything was like raw.
It's just raw.
Yeah.
I got a story about that.
You got fucking a big slab of pork that's been cooked for 15 seconds. That's good, boy. Get that in you.
Rare pork.
Yeah. And so I was walking back. We were living at the Edith place at that point. The spider-infested shithole.
Spider. As soon as you said spider, I knew
and filled with radioactive gas as well.
Shells, but
it was its own type of shit.
Okay.
And it was like a 45-minute walk back to our place. Yeah, okay. And I got like halfway through the walk, and I had to run onto somebody's front lawn. You remember those tiny houses in Montana? Yeah. Where it's like, like from the street, the house is maybe like 30 feet wide and like 20 feet deep. It's tiny, and it has like a little front yard and a driveway, and the yard is totally flat.
Quaint.
Yeah, quaint. Absolutely. I ran straight into the middle of their yard.
Quaint little yard.
Yeah. And I got down in like the crab position, like hands down and feet down.
Because you were practicing yoga at the time.
Yeah, I was real limber, and I had my knees around my pants around my knees, and it was like soft serve, and it was like pancake mix, okay? And it created a pie on the ground, and I shat so much that it almost reached my feet and hands. It was like a 2 feet in diameter pie of liquid shit. And I was laughing so hard, I was afraid I was going to fall into the shit. And I was laughing so hard, I thought I was going to wake up the people, because it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like 5 feet away from their front door. And, I pulled my pants up, and I made the last 20 minutes home. So that's the only time I shit outdoors in America, and it was maximum emergency.
Yeah.
Like,
the esteemed listeners back home, I'm crying right now. Just the fucking image of it spreading out enough. Because he's a tall guy. Like,
6'4", yeah.
So Lim's probably 6 foot. You're probably a square or thereabouts.
About, yeah.
So if you imagine the crab position and how much liquid should it take? Because I've seen cowboys. I was on a ranch before.
But it was real liquidy, so it was probably only like half an inch or 3/4 of an inch thick.
Because the cow pie is more like verging on fudge or like DQ sauce. More like almost like a melted blizzard.
Yeah, mine was like.
So you were like.
Mine was like it was like pancake mix. That's the best way to real liquid.
The best way or the worst way to describe it if you're imagining.
Yes, the ratio of how much it spreads to how thick it is. Like imagine liquidy pancake mix.
Oh fuck!
And it was so much because all I had all day was whiskey and meat.
And so many meats.
Yeah, and multiple meats, all undercooked.
Undercooked. I remember you sent me something about like people who ate some animal and got the bubonic plague.
Yeah, the squirrels, right?
The only time I went with Steve-O, the only animal I've ever shot, because I've been fishing, I've killed animals. I'm not a pussy.
I kill animals all the time.
I've killed fish, but the only animal I've ever shot and killed was a squirrel. I remember, like, I was with him, it was some kind of thing in the forest. I feel like it was always a gun day. I don't know if it was Sunday gun day. It was just Monday gun day or whatever.
Everyday gun day.
Fucking Tuesday we'll shoot shit. And I just had, like, a little rifle. He's like, there's a squirrel there, Max, get your first kill. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. Time to prove myself. I'm not a pussy hippie, like, Colorado, like, liberal. And I found the squirrel. I was like, I hope I don't shoot it. Boom. Shot it dropped down dead. I was like, fuck, I killed it. I was like, shit, I thought I wouldn't miss.
Instantly feel so bad about it.
I went and looked at his eyes, like, almost teared up. And then they came over to, that's your first kill. Gotta eat his heart. I was like, well, why not, man?
Why not?
Because, like, to put it in perspective, I feel in university, we're down with whatever.
Dude, they gave me the same shtick when I went hunting with them. And
you didn't do it?
Yeah, and they're like, there's your first kill, you gotta eat it. I'm like, no, I don't.
So, yeah, I guess I'm pretty agreeable. that's one of my things. So, anyways, took a knife, gutted it. I was like, which one's the heart? Because I don't know. They're like, that one, maybe? Ate its raw heart. Just raw.
They chased it with whiskey, right?
Yeah, chased it with whiskey. And then we cooked the squirrel and ate it. And I was like, but I didn't think about it. I didn't think much of it until, like, you sent me recently an article about someone who ate some animal and got bubonic plague.
Well, that's
like
what
Black Death.
I still to this day, I don't know if Steve-O was fucking with me, but the first time he took me hunting, he was like, only shoot the squirrels in the trees because the ground squirrels have bubonic. They can carry bubonic plague. And then I ask him, of course, the logical follow-up question, how do I know if it's a ground squirrel? He says, because it's not in a tree. and I'm like, that's bullshit.
I've seen squirrels go from the ground to the tree.
Of course. every time you see a squirrel on the ground and you shoot at him, he goes up in a tree. When you shoot at a squirrel in a tree, he goes to the ground.
So anyways, I'm immune to bubonic plague, but
that's a good immunity.
Moral of the story.
Yeah.
Ground, you know, if it's a ground squirrel, it's just in the trees. That's some bullshit. But you gotta trust the Montanans, because they've been living on the land.
Yeah, they're good folk.
Good folk.
Good people. I miss Montana a lot.
So,
let's get back to shitting, though. So that's the only time I shit in public in America.
Yeah.
In all my decades there, all my 2 decades and change.
Yeah.
And I've probably shit in public here 7 or 8 times.
Okay.
In 4 years.
Because why not? I mean, when in Rome.
I know the Helens that's on the lake, I shat outside of that Helens, there's a little community.
So the one near Wuhan University on East Lake.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And there's a little community right next to it, and inside the community they have like a big garden, and they have like a nice tree in the middle of the garden. It's like imagine like a concrete wall enclosed nature. And inside it's like 20 feet by 20 feet, and there's a tree in the middle, and there's like plants all around. And it's like a 30-second walk from the front door of Helen's. And so I remember I've shat there twice on 2 different nights.
On the tree of life.
I just lean up against the tree, my back against the tree, and I just explosive.
It's like a reincarnation of some Buddhist master.
Explosive shit. Oh, dude. But also that spot by the river with all of those clubs, 973 and all that. John Liu. I shat in the alleyway behind the club 3 times on 3 different nights. There's something about the bass in the club that makes me want to shit.
Yeah.
And
you feel it like in your spine and your sphincter.
That was like when I first got here when we were clubbing a lot, and I didn't know that. So you know what, you can imagine it. For people who can't imagine a street, and if you're standing on the street facing away from the street, in front of you is a huge staircase going up. To the left of the staircase, there's 2 entrances to 2 different nightclubs. On the right of the staircase, there's 2 more entrances, 2 more nightclubs. Yeah. When you go to the top of the staircase, it's maybe like 50 feet and then a big metal gate. Yeah. And then to the left and right of the gate are alleyways that go in behind the nightclub buildings.
And this is all on the beautiful, broad, majestic Yangtze River.
Yes, but I didn't know that. Because I had just arrived. So I didn't have any concept of where I was or what that gate was. Yeah. And I took giant gorilla bear shits, vicious liquor shits, in that alleyway.
Fake liquor shits, probably.
3 times. Yeah. And then just recently, I happened to find myself on John Liu in the daytime for the first time. Yeah. And I didn't realize that area where I was shitting is filled with children and families.
It's beautiful. It's
every single day.
Park. Yeah. So it's the fucking Yangtze River, man.
So without
the 3rd largest river in the world.
So without knowing it, every single night I was taking a giant shit in that alleyway, and then like 4 hours later, there were families and children staring at my shit. Because the place was filled with families.
Dude, so Wuhan's a tough place to live, but every time I see the river, I do feel like
it's nice.
It's so fucking amazing how broad it is. And you think about the history, like Hankou used to be one of the most prosperous like cities, because Hankou was its own city in China, like back in the dynasty. Yeah. And just imagining all these boats coming up the fucking massive Yangtze River, it is awesome. But you get caught in traffic for fucking 5 hours sometimes.
Yeah, going from Jiangsha to Guangzhou back in the construction days.
Yeah, for me,
it was like 13 or 14 kilometers. Yeah, and it could take 5 hours if you're unlucky, if you have a bad day.
It's real love and hate for me here.
Yeah, me too.
Because I've lived here so long. It's not because if I totally hated it, I don't think I'd keep doing it to myself. Yeah, I do have a big portion paid.
Let's say I thought I got pissed like a racehorse.
Got it.
Ooh, ow. All right. I think the last thing we were talking about, we're back. We were talking about China being bittersweet. I agree. I think that's part of the reason why it's so exciting, is because every day is so extreme. It's so amazing or terrible.
Yeah, it's true. You never know what day it's going to be. Sometimes you're really optimistic. You leave your house and then something happens.
Yeah, some guy sneezes right into your mouth or something.
But like, I remember we were coming back from Hankou the other day, and we were going over the bridge, and it should have been like 5 minutes. It took 3 hours to go over the bridge.
Fuck that.
Because there was accidents, there was construction. None of it. It's not like in the US where it says, construction ahead, detour available. No, nothing. Just construction all of a sudden.
Now you're just stuck. Or there's like a bus that's just trying to do a U-turn on the highway.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're stuck in 3 hours of traffic because they missed a turn.
Yeah.
What about, like, sometimes I'll get into a taxi or a Didi. A Didi is Chinese Uber, by the way. And I'm going to go to Hankou, so we have to cross the bridge. And I'll just, like, get lost in my head, daydreaming. And then I'll come to, and we're crossing the bridge, and I'm like, shit, I've been in this car for like an hour. We should have crossed the bridge 30 minutes ago. Yeah. And then I'll like think back to my memory. I'm like, I'm sure that we crossed the bridge already. I'm like, where the fuck are we? And then I check the map. I'm like, did we cross this bridge already? He went into Hankou, then circled back and went back again. Exactly. Trying to run up the timer.
It's not like the subway's any better, because then it's just so crowded. I don't like crowded spaces. Yeah. I don't like that at all. There was one time that was alright. I was like in the back of the subway against the wall, And this girl, like, she kept, there's like a foot of space around us. But she kept pushing back on me and just rubbing my ass in me. So I was alright with it then. Like, I didn't mind. But most of the time, it's just like, there's some guy up in you. But I remember the worst experience. I was on a bus. And it was midsummer. So the worst time to be on a bus.
Yes.
And now the buses, a lot of them have air conditioning. But back then, they didn't. And so I just come from, like, playing basketball. I was going across the bridge for some reason. I was standing there, and there was this, like, old woman right up against me. Like, her, like, head was basically on my chest. She was, like, that height. And I was just sweating. I could see my sweat run down my face and hit her forehead. And there was nothing she could do because there's no space to move. So she tried to, like, dodge it. I was just like, sorry. But, like, dude, I couldn't do anything. I, like, tried to cup it with my hand, but I couldn't move my arm because there's fucking people everywhere. Yeah. And so I was just sweating on her face for, like, 30 minutes.
I have a very similar experience.
Awkward, and it was so horrible. I felt so bad, but I couldn't fucking do anything.
I, like, crushed this old man when I first got here. It was getting on at Gwangju in, like, rush hour, you know, so, like, you're, like, packed in like sardines.
Fucking horrible.
And then every station, more people get on. Nobody gets off.
Yeah, in Gwangju, there's, like, 1,000 people waiting for the bus. Not at a bus stop, like, on the street. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the subway, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So getting on at Gwangju Station, and then you get on, the bus is full. It's full. There's no space left. And then the next 10 stops, more people get on.
Yeah.
And so I was on, and like, there's so many people around you, there's nowhere for you to move your feet. So where your feet are is where your feet have to stay. You can't reposition. But my upper body takes up more space than my feet because my feet are together. And there's a little old man next to me. And as more people get on, I get pushed closer and closer to him. And eventually my body weight isn't over my feet. And I'm just leaning with all of my weight on this little old man who's just being crushed in the crowd. And I'm looking down on him. And like you said, I can't lift my arms up because of all the people. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. 100% of my weight is on top of this old man. And we just have to wait until people get off.
Probably broke his brain. Like, died of complications.
He's just bearing my weight. This is part of his burden.
There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And I've never liked, so you come to China, you're a big, tall, white person, you're a star. But I've never liked that, because back in the U.S., I've always been very self-conscious. I'm very introverted. Mm-hmm. Like, even back home, I'll go into a restaurant, I don't like being there, because there's too many people. So here, it's like, it's a nightmare. You know what I mean? Because here it's even fucking worse.
I never like restaurants because I don't like sitting still for so long. You know? I don't like sitting there for 2 hours.
But
like,
before, I was always like, I just want to be like as low profile as possible. I think it's because I'm tall too. Like back in high school, I'd always sit in the back and like hunch down. You know what I mean? And so here it's fucking impossible. I go outside, people are fucking why? I was just so pissed.
Children chase you down the street.
I just want to chill. Like, I just want to just go on my way and be like alone, but it's impossible.
No, it's impossible.
I flipped some guy off the other day because he was like taking a selfie with me in it on purpose and smiling. So I just flipped him off and then he looked at me. I was like, "Fuck you!" And he was like, "Oh,
so aggressive." To make people understand,
I wasn't like this when I first came.
Walking down the street in China, on a particularly aggressive day, you might be stopped 100 times to take fucking selfies with people. You know, just like one group after another, and they'll grab you, they'll run up to you and just take pictures, or they won't even ask you. They'll just,
that's the worst. That's what pisses me off.
Like, you'll be sitting there having lunch, and there'll just be like 10 people around you taking pictures and videos of you. It's aggressive.
At the beginning, I was trying to be nice. I was like,
you try to be accommodating at first.
But then I've been here for 6 years. It's like, fuck you, dude. I'm going to get a sandwich.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly. So I've definitely got more bitter in my time. So I think the bitterness has made it more love or hate. Whereas the beginning, it was just all new. Like, you go to a new place, it's all fresh. New, it's exciting. Everything was interesting. Now it's more like, I've just been living my life here. Yeah. So I just want to go about my life. Don't bother me.
Having said that, is there anything that you do as like almost like a ritual to try to rekindle that feeling that you had back in the day? Because I know that there's some neighborhoods to the north of us here on the coast of Eastlake, the south coast of Eastlake, that are the old-timey neighborhoods back in the day. They've never been developed, and so it's like, you know, dank alleyways and shanty buildings and you know, all like homemade structures. Like the people who are living there built the place, and it's like a very old school China feel. Like these tiny little cramped alleys and stuff. All the buildings look different, and so whenever I start to get really aggressively jaded toward China, and I no longer feel like I no longer have that appeal of traveling. That what's the word? The novelty of traveling. I go there and it rekindles it. You know, I walk through those old streets, those little alleyways and stuff, and it makes me feel like I'm a traveler again. It's like it rekindles that excitement. Is there anything you do that brings that back?
Yeah, so for me is go back to my wife's home, because it's like so she's from Shentao, which is like a kind of a suburb of Wuhan, but really her mom's husband and like her mom, they live in like a village. And so I go back there, and it's even like it's Wuhan on crack in terms of everyone's like, oh, fucking lao wai. But I don't hold it against them because they're from this little village. Yeah. And like just going back to the little village, like
you might be the first foreigner they've ever seen in their whole life.
How would I hold it against them? Whereas here, it's like sometimes it feels like, what the fuck, just fuck off. Yeah. I don't know. It could just be because I'm here most of the time. But anyways, when I go back there, it's definitely like a fresh perspective. Like I remember last spring festival, I went back. I was just outside like chilling, to get away from the mahjong, because it's just constant mahjong at all hours of the night. So I just went outside to get some quiet, and then all of a sudden these little kids came up and like, hey, and like put fireworks in my hand and lit them. And so then I'm standing there with these like 5 and 6 year old kids. There's like 3 of them. They must have been 5 or 6. And they just put fireworks in my hand and lit them. I didn't know which way to point them. I didn't know if they were sparklers that exploded. And then, of course, just pew! And they, like, shot off and exploded. And I was like, fuck. But it was just so fucking... I don't know. I liked it. Like, it was like, wow. Yeah. These little kids come out of nowhere and just give me fireworks and light them. And I was just gotta go with it. But so things like that, it's definitely, yeah, it refreshes my perspective. And, like, my wife, her family, I've always really liked them. That's the interesting thing. It's like... It's just I call them farmers. Maybe I don't know if that's correct now. But anyways, the farmers. It's just like, they come up and judgmental. Because actually the farmers are probably better. So it's just these like people, whatever, they know like, I don't know, it's like a common sense of decency. It's not like my wife's family's like super urbanite or whatever. But they've never treated me differently just because I'm a foreigner. Yeah. You know what I mean? So every time I'm with her family, it really refreshes my perspective on China. I'm like, because they're really good people, all of them. Yeah. I've never even, at first, maybe they were opposed to us being together, but that was just because they were worried I'd go back to the U.S. or whatever. It wasn't because I'm a foreigner. It was more about the practical situation. So every time I'm with them, it does refresh my perspective.
That's good. That's good to have that. Yeah. The wedding took place in Shintao, right? Yep. Okay, so yeah, I've seen the city. It's not that small.
Yeah, so it's a small city by Chinese standards.
Yeah, probably a small city by Chinese standards.
1.5 million.
Yeah, I was just gonna say 2 million people. Yeah, it's a small city. It's like a village.
Yeah, so it's provincial, dude. It's bigger than Denver, where I'm from. I'm not even from Denver. Actually, I'm from Louisville, so it's probably like 50,000 people or something.
Something that I've had to explain to my girlfriend is that rural places in America still have a very high quality of infrastructure.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas once you leave the city in China, you're literally in farmland that it has nothing. Yeah. You know, you're lucky if your home is a stone box. Yeah. It doesn't have running water, it doesn't have internet, it doesn't have anything. Mm-hmm. And so something that I had to explain is that like you can go as rural is in America, and they still have 99% of the luxuries of a big city.
But the people are rural.
Yeah, so like, the people are simple.
Just like they are here. Yeah. Like the people are like the farmers here, I feel.
Exactly. But they live in high quality standards. Yeah, they still have fast internet, they still have clean running water, they have strong sewage systems that you can flush toilet paper down. Yeah. I'm so sick of putting toilet paper into my trash can.
I flush toilet paper in the place I'm living now.
Yeah, but you're out in the middle of nowhere. Like you could probably flush a fucking dog down that place. You could probably get your leg caught and it would rip your leg off.
Not to tell anyone about the dogs. That's a secret. But yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is a big difference. So like here it's like, oh, the country, why would you want to live there? It's like, no, it's nicer.
Yeah, it's way nicer.
It's almost the opposite in the U.S. whereas the city, it feels like there's more disadvantages. You know, you got the arts and stuff, but you go visit the city. You know what I mean?
Yeah, cities are shitholes in America.
Yeah. So you
predominantly.
go to the museum. You go to the city to see the museum.
There are nice places to live in cities, but not for people on moderate salaries.
Yeah.
On modest salaries, you're going to live a very rough life in a city. Yeah. Whereas, like, I was having this conversation with Chris a little while ago, our Canadian friend who he has an experience working at McDonald's. And we were talking about how if you work a position in McDonald's, you can work the same position in Manhattan and be dead broke, and you can work that same position in Fargo, North Dakota, and live a great life. You can afford anything. Yeah. You can have a house, and you have a wife, and you can have multiple children, working the exact same job, making the same amount of money, and you can live a great life.
So why not go there?
Yeah. Well, Fargo, North Dakota is chill.
Well, yeah.
No. To all the people living in Fargo, okay, I drove...
To all our listeners.
To the tens of millions of people listening, hundreds of millions. I drove through Fargo one night, and my intention was to get gas and rent a hotel for the night. I got there at like 9 p.m. and the entire town was closed. It was like a whiteout blizzard. The gas stations were closed. The hotels were closed at like 9 p.m.
How dare you get there at 9?
Yeah, I was like, fuck this city. I drove right through it. I just kept going.
It was like Idaho. I remember we were going to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Remember? And we went through Idaho.
Oh, yeah,
it was all closed. Yeah.
At
like 9 or 10 fucking drive through the country.
Yeah.
But you know, good on them, those people.
Yeah, getting to sleep early. Yeah. Jesus. I would love to go live in the country if I could live the same quality of life. I need to be able to get pizza delivered. I need to be able to have a range of food. I need to have a good Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
I need to get some good Arabic food. You know, I need like the basics covered, and then I can live anywhere. I need fast internet. I would live in a cardboard box in the forest if it had fast internet.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't live in the middle of Manhattan with slow internet. After 4 years of Chinese internet, I cannot accept.
American internet's so fast.
I can't accept bad internet.
Like, I try to explain that. It's like, well, here it takes 5 seconds to load some kind of, like, a Chinese webpage.
Yeah.
Why?
Off VPN.
5 seconds? Like, why? And it's like, it's only 5 seconds. It's like, no.
There's no videos instant. Or anything. It's like an article.
No, in the US, it's instant.
Like, it's like text.
It's just fucking instant.
Yeah. I mean, when I visit home, I stay with my parents, and, you know, their internet is like 5 or 6 megabytes per second, which is pretty slow by American standards, but they're old people, so they don't put a lot of value in their internet. Yeah, they still have AOL accounts. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
But it's so fucking stable. It's insane. It's like, if it's 5 megabytes, it's 5 megabytes every second of every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Here, sometimes it's lightning fast. Yeah. And then 10 minutes later, it drops off.
Yeah. Or 10 seconds later. Like, I'll go on Steam or something like that and download a game, and it will spike up to like 20 megabytes per second for like 6 seconds. And then it will go down to like 15 kilobytes per second. And then it will stay like that for 3 days while it finishes the download. Fucking bullshit. But those spikes of fast internet, they're pretty nice. Every now and then you get the taste of the high life.
Oh yeah, I love it. Like YouTube 1080p or whatever.
Oh fuck yeah.
That's good shit.
5K.
Yeah. 5K. I don't even know what that is.
37K. Yeah. I know that I'm becoming an old guy because I want to go home. I want a garage. I want a workshop.
Yeah.
And I want to listen to audiobooks and do some woodworking. And want to just smoke blunts. I want the world to leave me alone. I want to brew my own moonshine.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to be left alone, I think.
Yeah.
That's where a city, there's always too many people.
I want a dog as well.
And it's not like they're bad people.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like sometimes
just too many.
Yeah, when I get negative here, I have to remind myself it's not their fault that there's too many people here.
There's 15 million people living in the US, city.
And I bet if you looked at it proportionally, there's just as many annoying fucking people back home, but there's fewer of them. And so here it's like you're constantly surrounded by a lot of good people, but then you get claustrophobic. And then it just means you're in closer proximity to the fucking dicks, which they're everywhere in the world.
They're also annoying in different ways, in ways that you're not culturally used to.
True.
So it's like it's an unusual annoying.
Or like an annoying person has another level of annoying because they're also like culturally distinct, and then that can be annoying.
Yeah,
just because you're not used to it. That's true.
But yeah, I would like a dog. I've wanted to buy a dog for a long time, but I refused to buy one in China because one of my first experiences in China, like my first month here, along with that guy shitting in the storm drain, I was sitting in a taxi in traffic, and I looked out the window and there was an entrance to the subway somewhere in the city, and it was like just a zillion people, of course, and I noticed this woman with a dog on a leash. And she was looking one direction down the street, and the dog was behind her looking the other direction. And this old woman walked up to the dog. In an instant, she knelt down, unclipped the leash, threw a bag over the dog, picked the bag up, put it over her shoulder, and walked down into the metro.
Fuck, dude.
Just stole the dog in an instant, in a heartbeat. Yeah. The dog's gone.
Damn. There's a lot of dog kidnappings here. Yeah. The like Wuhan, the city.
There's a lot of dog murdering as well.
Yeah. They have like
where they'll just you've seen the videos
city officials. Yeah. And if the dogs are over,
not just officials. Well, okay. Let's tell that story as well. But there's always
the dog eating festival and wherever.
There's always Yulin.
Yeah.
There's always videos on WeChat of people murdering other people's dogs to eat them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've eaten dog, to be fair.
Okay, I never.
I wouldn't eat someone else's dog.
I have nothing against it. I wouldn't eat my own dog.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing. When I was eating the dog, I was like, "Where'd they get this dog?" And so it's always in the back of your head.
100%.
And it tasted like
dog.
Yeah. It didn't taste like chicken. It tasted like dog, man. And it was a mental block. I always like to eat things here, but there's always a mental thing.
One of the things that fucks me up is that they think that meat with adrenaline in it tastes better, and so they want the animal to die painfully, badly. And so people share during the Yulin Dog Festival. There's always really horrific videos being going around.
Like blowtorching live dogs, boiling them
alive, things like that. Yeah. Really
skinning them alive,
really horrific shit.
Fucked up shit.
Beyond horrific.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I would never agree with that. So when I ate the dog, that was in the back of my mind. That's why I only ate it once.
Yeah.
It was more just to try it, and I didn't see a dog being burned alive, but who knows? And it was also near North Korea, where they also eat dogs, but it was still in China, so I don't know if they kill them.
And there's a difference between eating a dog in North Korea, where everyone's starving to death, and eating a dog in China, where it's just for fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's why I wouldn't want a dog. I also wouldn't want a dog in the city. What the fuck's the point? I need a yard. I want my dog to run in a yard to be free. Take him out to the open space. Say go frisbee, Colorado. Mountains, weed,
grizzly bears.
And for those of you who can't see, I'm flailing my arms because it's Colorado. It's wide open, God's country.
The places I'm looking at back in the East Coast don't have yards, but there's public parks all around, and there's national parks all around.
You just need to get out. Here, there are good parks in Wuhan, but how do you get there? You take a subway, you take a fucking bus with your dog, right? And
when you get there, somebody murders and eats your dog.
Do you ever feel like you'll be bored when you go back to the U.S.?
Yes.
Because it's the U.S. Even
100%.
Though...
So that's what I was, to circle back to the beginning, since we came back from break, when I was asking you about the dichotomy of like extreme good and extreme bad in China, that's why I get so bored in America, because every day is just so mediocre.
Yeah. Even if it's good or it's bad, it's just kind of good. Kind of, they didn't put raisins in my scone or something.
It's like a variation of like 5%.
Oh, they forgot to put whipped cream on my frappuccino or some shit.
Like I went to Chipotle, I ordered 2 scoops of rice, and the second scoop was only like 80%.
And then you get all pissed.
Yeah.
And it's like someone spit on you on the metro or some shit. Like, or you saw someone like kill a duck.
Like I always use this very specific example because this has happened so many times to me. People sneeze right in your face.
Yeah.
And like sometimes they'll be like on an electric scooter, an e-bike, and they're going the opposite direction of you on a sidewalk, and there's nobody else around.
It's a fucking drive-by.
They could easily sneeze to the left, but they choose to sneeze to the right into your face as they drive by.
It's like a drive-by sneezing.
Yeah, and you just have spit and boogers all over your face, and then your day is just ruined.
Yeah, it's ruined, man.
But then you go to America and your day is ruined because like it's only a half scoop of rice. I wanted my third scoop of rice to be a full scoop. The scoop that I'm not paying for, I want it to be more than that. But it just comes down to perspective.
Yeah, it's all perspective.
Yeah.
We're going to the bank here. Have you talked about going to the bank on this podcast?
I don't think
bank stories?
Yeah, you can tell some bank stories.
No stories, but it takes 3 fucking hours.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you're doing.
What
deposit, change your phone number, it's 3
change
hours.
your name?
Yeah. Because they fuck up the name every time. Whoa. We put the last name in the middle, or we put no spaces, or it's all capital. It fucks everything.
Or they just spelled it wrong, even though they have a picture of my passport with the name. They've spelled my name wrong here at this ICBC. ICBC is one of the biggest banks in China.
In the world, too. If you look it up. It's one of the biggest
everything that exists in China is one of the biggest in the world. Doesn't mean it's successful.
Yeah, no, but in terms of volume.
Yeah.
That's true.
And they spelled my name wrong. I've had to correct my name 3 times. Because they would spell my name wrong, and I'd spend 5 or 6 hours there, and they would take half a dozen employees.
Every employee,
exactly. Almost every employee in the bank,
except for the ones that are outside not doing anything ever.
They're like taking a nap or they're playing on their phone.
So why?
Yeah, they're playing fucking Lulu on their phone. Anyway, and they'll get my name wrong, and when they give me the paperwork afterwards, I'll immediately notice that it's wrong, but I don't have the fucking time. There's not enough hours in the day to correct that mistake then, and I'll say, fuck it. And then 3 months later, I'll work up the free time and the stamina to go back and be like, hey, the name's wrong, correct it.
Yeah.
And then they'll get a different part of the name wrong the second time. And that happened 3 times. And so in the 3 years I've been at this university, 3 times I've had to go back, and now my name is finally correct.
And you're leaving.
Yeah, and I'm leaving. Thank God. Thank God.
Well, like stand-up comedians in the U.S., like the hacky ones that joke about going to the bank, you have to wait in line for like 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe Frasier was at Seinfeld. Oh, you go to a bank, you wait in line 15 minutes. It's like
the lady in front of you wants quarters for a $20 bill.
That's the thing. I remember we went to Thailand and like my wife, she was complaining about shit just because it's different. So it's perspective, like we were talking about during break. Perspective is so important.
Talk about perspective, bringing change to the bank.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Not one bank in this country has a change machine.
Exactly.
I brought 780 RMB worth of change.
I was about to say I brought 350
last year.
Man. Yeah. How long did it take?
It took 5. It took 5 employees. And they count them by hand, and then they roll it in
tape it
in scrap pieces of paper. They roll it into rolls. Yeah, by hand. Took them all day. I got there at like 9:30. I dropped 3 plastic wrap, big what are those called? Plastic seal bags, zip seal bags, on the table, and I had already separated the 1 quid coins and the smaller coins.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, gentlemen.
I had like other coins, like arcade coins,
dude,
American.
They found European and Japanese coins in there, and they found American currency and Hong Kong currency.
Yeah.
And I was giving those out to the employees because I felt bad because they were working so hard. They spent like 4 or 5 hours counting change.
You're just sitting there, right?
I was just sitting there. The only one I was curious about is one of them found a 5 Hong Kong dollar coin. Huh. And she was like, can I keep this? And I had already given away like 50 cents worth of American change. I had given away some European change and some Japanese change. But I was vaguely sure of how much those were worth.
Yeah, $5 Hong Kong like 50 RMB or something, or what?
I didn't know how much it's like nothing.
Oh, it's nothing?
Yeah, it's just very, very little. But at the time, I was like, shit, is this like $5?
Oh.
And I was like, there's no way I'm giving this chick $5. And in the moment, I was like, okay, you can have it. And then I went home and Googled it. It's very little. Okay. It's not a lot. It's like 10 RMB or something like that.
Okay.
It's a little stronger than RMB.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know.
It's funny, man. Things we take for granted in the U.S.
Absolutely.
We take so much for granted. We take everything for granted.
Again, perspective.
Yeah.
You can travel anywhere in the world and remove money from your Chinese bank card.
Yeah.
In America, if I go one town over and I try to use my bank, my card, my bank will like cancel the card because they think that it's been stolen.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I need to go to the bank and give like blood and urine and like sperm samples to prove that it's me. And it takes like 4 months. And during that time, I could just run out of money and die because the bank doesn't believe it's me. You know, there's so much overregulation and bureaucracy in America. I would love to see something in between China and
That's
America.
what I've always thought. So living here, I've always thought the perfect countries in between U.S. and China.
Yeah,
in most ways, like
in especially regulation,
education, regulation, but most things, like I feel like both are too far to the spectrum. And that's why, like, I'm just gonna make a hybrid baby and then, like, have a hybrid upbringing.
Start your own country.
Yeah, dude, fuck it.
Run for governor of Colorado and then annex Colorado from America.
I'm gonna widen the gene pool. I'm gonna widen the perspective. I'm gonna make a little baby. And they'll probably just become American, like, resent me for, like, talking about China. They're like, you're not Chinese or something. They'll, like, resent their mother. Who knows? But hopefully not.
They'll probably be transsexual.
Yeah.
You'll give birth to a daughter and she'll have like a orangutan dick sewn onto her body.
Yeah. They'll identify as being German or something. I'll resent you for saying I'm American Chinese. Like, you are. No, I'm German. All right.
Trans species.
Yeah, I'll get arrested.
Should be like a German bird.
Yeah. How dare you try to cage me? My mom's not Chinese. No, she is. I met her in China. She's not Chinese. But I'm worried we'll go back to the US and I'll be like, oh, my wife likes to eat rice, and they'll be like, racist. That's why I'm worried about it. I'll be like, no, we eat rice like fucking every day. When we make dinner, we eat rice. Racist. Like, oh, everyone eats rice. It's like, no, I'm talking about my wife and everyone in China because I've fucking been there.
You're gonna get a lot of that in Colorado. Yeah. If you don't want to get that, you should go to Texas, where you're like, my Chinese wife eats rice, and they're like, yep, sounds right.
You got paint the fur little bit.
They don't talk like that in Texas.
Oh, you haven't been to. Alright. But I have family from Texas and I love them. I feel like Texas is pretty fucking open.
I hear Texas is pretty awesome.
Texas is awesome. Yeah, like I got family in Rio Medina.
Sound like good people.
Good people. Yeah.
Good folk.
Good folk.
I love using the word folk.
Good folk. Man, they're good folk. Well, they are though. They really are. The only problem, it seems like it'd be more like Colorado is like someone says I'm racist or something.
Do you get worried that you're gonna miss China and you're gonna regret going back to America? Because from time to time I think of that because my life here is so unrealistically comfortable, and I often think to myself, do I really want to go back to America and live a real life like a normal person and like work and have responsibilities and like do all those things when I could just do what I'm doing now forever?
But I have been working.
Well,
but also super comfortable.
You're in the subset of foreigners who, for some reason, work a legitimate job in China. I don't understand why, but you've chosen to.
I need to.
Yeah.
I think it's because...
the only good reason I've heard that somebody's given for working a 40-hour job in China as a foreigner is that if they weren't occupying their time with work, they would spend all day at the bar and they would just drink themselves to death. That's a reasonable reason. Like, they don't have any hobbies and they just need something to do all day other than drinking. Yeah. But you're not an alcoholic, so I don't know what...
Not to that extent.
I don't know what your reasoning is.
No, maybe I've always thought I'll go back.
Maybe, yeah.
And when I go back, I'll probably find a 40-hour... I don't mind it.
I know. Some people just don't mind it.
I think that's the thing. I don't mind it. Like, I'll complain about it sometimes, but not every day. And I don't really mind it that much. I have good relationships with my colleagues, so I go there for 8 hours. I talk to them.
I work like 4 hours a week, and I resent it.
Yeah. You do.
I hate it.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
You complain about it.
I mean, this semester I'm ending my classes a month early because I just don't want to do them anymore. So I've already given my students their final exam. They've already got their grade, and I've told them
no class. There's air quotes around all of this. You can't be seen. Final exam.
Yeah, final exam. Exactly. It's all bullshit.
Yeah, like so. I think talking about the comfort, I'll go back and I'll work 40 hours, but I'll have like froyo or whatever, frozen yogurt, dude. You know what I mean? I'll be able to go buy edibles. Like, so it'll be the same amount of effort plus all that comfort of just infrastructure, and
it'll certainly be a transition for me. It's a lot more effort for a lot more comfort.
Yeah, it will still be a transition for me too. I think like being an American company with American people, I've been working with lots of Chinese people. I feel like I've become kind of Chinese.
Way.
No, I say It's like talking to people.
25 yeses. Yeah.
It'd be weird. But good weird. Better weird than just as soon as I finished high school and always being there.
Yeah, I agree. And then, I think if I never left New Jersey, I'd probably be a piece of shit. Yeah. I'm not saying that people who never leave New Jersey are a piece of shit. I'm saying it wouldn't have been a good life for me.
Yeah, me neither.
I would have never become the person I am now.
Yeah.
I think going to DC was very important. The DC area. Going to Montana was very important. Coming to China has been very important.
Yep.
And I'm not convinced I'm going to stay in America. I might continue traveling. I've been looking at jobs in Poland and Hungary.
Lesotho, the only landlocked country in the world. It's like landlocked by another country, I mean. So the only country surrounded by another country, Lesotho.
I didn't know that.
Viewers at home, you can Google it. But that's not next on my list. Just to get like a new perspective of what it is to be in a country surrounded by a country. Because so Singapore is a country state, but it's on a peninsula.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a country entirely surrounded by another country. Lesotho.
What? It doesn't feel like you have a real reason for going there.
I don't even know why I know that. Those are the things I cling to. That's the place I'd like to be.
Desperation.
It's like a baby like being swaddled in the womb. You know, you're in the womb of, I forget the country though. That's the problem.
Where is it?
It's in Africa. It's in southern Africa. So
you should definitely go to South Africa.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
I'd rather go to Lesotho and be swaddled by South Africa than the warm embrace of it. From all angles, dude. You're completely bordered by one country. And there's no sea. There's no ocean to escape to.
It sounds like Colorado.
No.
It sounds like where you came from.
No, it's not. How is that like Colorado?
Just mountain folk who have no access to the real world?
Yeah. Alright. Alright.
Do you even know what the ocean looks like?
I don't know enough to know I want to be like...
Big water.
In Jersey where they're like putting fucking Hidden Valley Ranch like runoff into the ocean and like swimming in it and shit or whatever you guys do.
Yeah, that's the water that we send up to the mountain people.
Mutant rats eating like garbage. I don't even know. I haven't been there.
Oh man.
So the people of Jersey, God bless you for putting up with that shit.
Greatest place in the world.
The U.S. needs it needs to be unified, and I'm happy some people are willing to live there.
Dude, I
can live for free in Colorado.
I love the contention between states.
Yeah.
It gives. Oops.
Yep.
It gives America so much character.
Yeah, so much. Because I fucking hate Nebraska, Kansas, Wyoming. Dude, no, seriously, I fucking hate them. And there's parts of Colorado that look like parts of Kansas, but I don't want to go to that show.
I don't have any real reason to hate North Dakota other than Fargo. That one terrible experience in Fargo, I'm like, fuck North Dakota.
I thought you meant the movie.
No, I was actually, I drove through the town. It was a shithole. Yeah, the whole town was closed at 9 p.m. during a blizzard. I was like, I need fucking a place to stay. It's a whiteout conditions.
Like, place like Colorado, if there's a blizzard, we're smoking blunts and we don't want outsiders coming in.
Foreigners.
Fucking East Coasters coming in the middle of the night for no reason and they don't have shelter and blunts already. Well, fuck that.
I forget what state I was driving through, but it was such a bad blizzard condition that I pulled off of the highway. The only way I could tell that I was still on the road on the highway is there was a ditch on both sides of the road, and so the light would reflect off of the snow, and then when I got too close to the ditch, the light would stop reflecting because it wasn't hitting the ground in the ditch, and there would just be blackness, and I knew that was too close.
Yeah.
So I was just...
All of this, for anyone in the mountains, is for granted.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I was just kind of very slowly weaving back and forth across the entire interstate. And then I was convinced that I was lost, and my car had a relatively small gas tank. I could only go like 200 miles on the gas tank, so I knew I was like 70 miles away from the last gas station. I was like, I don't know where the next one is.
Did you have one of the cars where the needles didn't work? Or?
It was questionable. It was questionable how reliable the needle was. But I knew that because when I first got the car, I filled it up to full gas tank, and then I just drove it until it absolutely wouldn't run anymore. Okay. I got to a point where the needle was past the red line. It was completely dead, and I was just driving in circles around the gas station for like 2 hours until the car sounded like it wasn't going to run anymore, and then I went in. Yeah. And it ended up being like 238 miles or something like that to be completely full gas tank. It was a small gas tank. Yeah. And so on this night during the blizzard, I knew that I was like 70 or 80 miles away from the last gas station. And I was like, I don't know where the next one is. I only had like a paper map.
Okay.
And so
those days, back in the days, no GPS, no bullshit.
Yeah, this was like 2013. Yeah. And so I was lost as fuck.
MapQuest and shit.
Yeah, MapQuest is garbage. And so I pulled off the highway, and then I pulled off of that road, and I thought that I was just like on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. And I take my map out, I park my car, and I have the light on inside the car. I'm looking at the map. And out of the blizzard, some man just appears and knocks on the window of my car in the blizzard. I'm like, ah! Oh, fuck! And I roll down the window, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing on my lawn? Dude, his house was like 30 feet away from the car. I didn't even see it. I didn't know it was there. I didn't know I was on the lawn of... and it wasn't his house. It was his brother's house. He was there checking up on his brother because his brother was sick with the flu. And he was like, what are you doing on the lawn? And I'm like, I didn't know I was on your lawn. I can't see anything.
So Colorado, like we talk about Colorado natives, and it's not like xenophobic, but it is just because people like you.
Yeah.
So Colorado in the summer, welcome everyone. Come to Colorado in the summer, enjoy the state, enjoy the mountains, the beautiful rivers, the weed, Denver, decriminalized mushrooms, whatever your thing is, enjoy it. But in the winter, when I see fucking people coming from California or the East Coast, and they're getting into accidents in snow, I would never like, I would never be for like a calling of people, but there's a reason, and we grow up driving in the snow, and so. I don't know. In the snow gets sketchy.
I don't know about California. The East Coast gets some snow too.
You get some snow.
We're just unprepared for it. Consistently. It doesn't matter if it snows every year. We're just unprepared.
So that's because my parents are from California. So I'm saying all this bullshit. I'm spawn of California. And I was born in Texas. But I lived in Colorado since I was 1.5 years old. So I am Coloradan, but not by birth.
That's not enough.
So I'd be called.
Yeah,
so
you're 18 months too late.
Yeah, just self-hating. But anyways, so I understand perspectives. But... yeah, like California, like in the Sierra Nevadas, they get snow, but like people can't drive in snow there. I had a 91 Honda Accord, 92 Honda Accord, 1 year older than me, 1 year younger than me, sorry. And I could drive it through anything. It'd be like 2 feet of snow, a blizzard, and I'd fucking drive my little Honda through the snow. No shit, no problem, just go slow. Go slow. And then you get these people from California, drive fucking 60 through the snow, and then they end up dead in a ditch, and then I have to wait to go to school because there's fucking people dead in the ditch.
To be fair, we almost died in a ditch on our way to Libby, Montana, when our South Dakotan friend, who should be able to drive in the snow, spun out.
Dude,
the people in Montana...
yeah,
the only people who drive more recklessly than them are the people here in China.
Yeah.
The Montana roads are not only made quite poorly, but like from a physics point of view, if you're going to do 90 on a turn, you should either slow down or the turn should be banked.
Exactly. Colorado. Yeah. Banked.
And it should be the same angle all the way around.
Yeah.
When the angle becomes more sharp as the turn goes, that's called a descending turn. I think that's what it's called. And almost all of the roads in Montana are like that. And they're not
called
banked.
You're fucked, no matter what it's called.
So like
then you have gravity.
You begin the turn at like 80 miles an hour, and not only is it not banked, but now the turn's getting sharper and sharper as you're going. You can't hit the brakes as you're in the middle of this turn. And that's why so many people die on the roads of Montana. It's one of the highest
and we fatalities.
Almost did. Yeah. And we go spinning out because he's doing fucking 70
Do you remember the provisions we had for that trip?
I do.
So we spent all of our money.
Yeah. It was like cumulatively, $50?
Probably. On vodka, an eighth of good. It was like purple stuff. It was good.
Yeah.
Good weed.
An eighth of good weed, a handle of the cheapest vodka, like a plastic bottle.
Orange juice. For the cheap vodka.
And that didn't come from our cash, though.
That was because university money.
We both had money on our university card for eating at the university cafeteria, and we spent that on these like single-serving orange juice bottles.
Our food for the week. Or the weekend crackers.
For like 3 days.
It was like those orange, like Archer Farm crackers, like orange with cheese or orange with peanut
butter. Yeah, like the little round crackers with peanut butter.
Dude, for breakfast.
I think we had like 3 of those each.
We had so much weed and vodka.
Yeah, and there was no seatbelts in the back of his car. The day we took off, we woke up early and started drinking early.
Oh yeah, we were drinking from the
so we were already hammered when we got into the car and started driving.
Yeah. Because I remember I was fucked up when it happened. So as I remember, I feel like I was in the back passenger. Because like from my perspective, what I remember, it could have been taken for granted. But we span. So it was like 2-lane highway. Was it 2 lanes?
It was 2 lanes each direction. That had a passing lane in the middle.
Yep. So what I remember is once it started happening, we lost it. I remember we were spinning across.
Yeah, we lost it while we were in the passing lane.
Yeah, and so I remember my seat at one point, I was sitting there looking out the window facing an oncoming truck or something.
It's Montana, so they're all 18-wheelers or they're like lifted pickup trucks. And it was coming
right at me, but because I was so fucked up, I just accepted it in that moment. And like, dude, I'm scared of death. I'm not saying I'm like Zen. Like, I'm scared of my mortality. I'm fighting against it. But in that moment, I was just like, here it is.
Yeah. Here we go.
Fucking took it.
And there's no way to survive. We're going 70 in one direction. This giant truck is going 70 in the other direction.
At that point, because we were just spinning. At that
there's
point,
there's no seatbelts or anything. There's like 4 inches of aluminum door in between you and the car.
Dental records to find who I was.
Yeah.
Like,
you would be splattered.
Splattered. Yeah.
And I was next to you and in the back seat, and I remember we started spinning. And there was nothing to grab onto. So I grabbed the driver's seat in front of me, and I just put one hand on the ceiling as if that's going to do anything. And I remember also looking through the window as we were like perpendicular to the road, and the trucks are coming toward us.
Yeah.
I agree. I was like, well, we're fucked. I was like,
not much you can do.
I'm too drunk to work out the geometry here. I don't know where we're going to end up, but I think we're fucked. I'm pretty sure we're fucked.
I bet my skull would have ended up like in your chest, like inside of it or something, and your heart would have been through the window or something. You know what I mean?
The fucking, we were in like this like little Jeep, like a
Jeep Cherokee, like a Grand Cherokee,
an old school one,
old school.
Not the real boxy one, like the more SUV one.
So it was like was it Liberty?
I'm not sure.
I don't think it was like a Liberty. I think it was a Cherokee, but a newer one, not the super boxy.
Not the old boxy.
It was more rounded.
The more round.
It wasn't
SUV
a Jeep
ones.
Liberty.
And,
but either way,
the car would have been exploded.
Yeah, even the Jeep.
And but we didn't get hit by anything. We spiraled through traffic, through like literally
spinning,
threaded the needle
rotating,
through oncoming traffic, and there wasn't a ditch or anything on the other side of the road. It was just flat into like farmland. And so we just spun off into the farms.
Car didn't even roll. It didn't flip.
Didn't roll or anything.
Spun.
Just continued spinning into the grass and the field that we went into. And then when we came to a stop, the driver just immediately stepped out of the car,
shaking,
like visibly shaking, violently shaking, and just put a cigarette in his mouth and lit it and just walked off into the field that we spun into.
For a while.
Just walked off, smoking a cigarette, and all of us just sat there silently until he came back. And then we continued on to Libby.
And then shit got fucked up there. It's not like it was Libby, like Libby, Montana. Was like, what were they mining asbestos?
I think so, something like that.
I'm not even kidding.
Also, I remember hearing that it was the largest production center of LSD in the 70s.
Okay,
it was like almost all of the LSD that was going down to the West Coast was from Libby or Livingston, one of those. Livingston.
So LSD. And I'm pretty sure they're mining asbestos.
Yeah, probably. There's only like 1,000 people
literally mining fucking asbestos. And it was grim. It was fucking grim.
Do you remember while we were at Montana, there was a big controversy that all of the wood chips in the town had come from a dude who sold a giant pile of wood chips on land that he recently bought. And the land used to be an asbestos mine, and those were the chips that they laid in the mine for the miners to not walk on mud. And they took the asbestos wood chips out of the asbestos mine and then sold them to our town. And so while we were in college, they were going around, they were digging up all of the wood chips around campus and stuff and getting rid of them.
I don't remember, but I remember like burning wood chips for worms. I can't say worms. I can't say worm or warm, but to stay warm. I remember that. Dude, but I don't know, barbecue, it was like mahogany, asbestos, pork. No, I don't remember that. I just remember Keepers of the Peace.
Yeah. Want to tell that story?
I don't remember it, but
it was cool. I think we went to REI or something like that. We had some reason to walk across the city.
Yeah, so we walked all the way across Missoula, which is, of course, small in population, but like, large in sprawl.
Yeah, it's like a couple hours to get across it, walking.
And we went to, I forget the name of the place.
I think it was REI.
Was it REI?
I'm not sure. It was one of those big box stores that was far away.
I remember there was a place called like Rudy's, and it had like music and records. And
he just told us about it. We didn't go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I saw one.
It was a woman, right?
Yeah, and I saw a quarter of the piece later. So about the Keepers of the Peace.
One of them was at that pizza place as well.
Oh, okay.
I forget
Pipeline?
No, the different one.
The Bridge.
Yeah, the Bridge. I think one of them was at the Bridge. Another one was at Rudy's. Another one was at a different place. It was like a bunch of pieces.
Yeah.
But we were walking back in the middle of the night from whatever big box store we went to, and we were by the river, and this old woman who looked like a homeless person was walking the opposite direction, and she stopped us just randomly and launched into a story about the Keepers of the Peace.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
About the giant peace sign that used to be up on the hill, and then like a energy company, like a coal or oil company or something like that.
So fucking American.
They came in and bought the mountain.
Yeah.
And the hippies who had built this peace sign, like this giant, like 100-foot by 100-foot peace sign.
Because I remember seeing like a quarter of it or a fraction. It was huge.
You could see it from anywhere in the city, and you're seeing it from like a mile or 2 miles away, and it's still like an inch in the
Missoula, beautiful place. It's all in a valley, so it's surrounded on both sides by like hills.
Yeah. I'm from the East Coast, so I call it a mountain.
People from the low parts of the country call them mountains.
Low altitude folks.
I'd call them hills, or like the front range.
They were big enough to obscure the horizon. Yeah. You know, like the sun didn't come up over the hill, quote unquote, until like 10 a.m.
Yeah.
But after the company bought the mountain, there was a big legal battle, which of course the hippies lost. And the hippies went up on the hill and disassembled the peace sign, which was like made of concrete, right?
Yeah.
And
solid.
And they pieced out all the different pieces of the peace sign to these people, these like community members in the city.
Like representatives. Yeah. Like Bridge Peace has been there forever.
Yeah. There was like a pizza place. There was a bar.
Was like a record store.
Or something like that. Yeah. Record store. They got a piece of it. Yeah. And then they ended up building a new one on the M Hill, right?
Was there?
Or no.
It was just an M.
No, there was a new peace sign on the old hill, but it was made of paper or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Because, don't you remember that? There was a peace sign on the other hill.
I can't remember the
There's the M hill, and then there's the peace sign on the other hill.
It was made of paper?
It was made of something very temporary.
Okay.
Because, like, they couldn't put a permanent structure on it because they don't own it, I guess.
Made of, like, tears.
Yeah, made of hippie tears.
It's like, you can see it when it's dry.
All right. We're back. We had some technical difficulties here, and
we were talking about.
Not sure what we were talking about.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I do remember we talked about Libby. That was pretty crazy. Montana's.
It was about Montana. Keepers
awesome.
of the Peace, Montana. Everyone they're different, but they get along. You have hippies. You have ranchers. Sex in a cow pasture.
Nice. Were the cows looking at you?
No, but there was this shit right next to me, dude. I never wanted to fucking the outdoors again. I thought it'd be like all romantic. And what it was, the golden hay, the blue skies, but then there were flies everywhere. Like the whole time, just flies like buzzing on me.
Going into your asshole.
Well, I wouldn't have minded that. And then I remember looking to the right, and like right on the outskirt of the blanket we put down was just a cow pie. Ugh. Right there. Like, well,
that's like having sex in a shower. It's not as romantic as it sounds.
It made me finish a lot quicker.
Oh, yeah. just to get up and go away.
Yeah, oh, nice. So, yeah, I love it. Montana. It's funny going from Montana to China, too. Totally different. Opposite ends of the spectrum.
Very wild.
One's wide open. There's like 10 people in the whole state. Yeah. Then you come to China. There's like 500 people per square inch.
There's 10 people in your apartment that aren't supposed to be there.
There's 30 people right now just looking at us. What the fuck are you doing?
An experience that I always have when I go back is I have a bit of a panic attack at the silence.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I get it makes me nervous too.
Usually one of my parents or one of my friends picks me up from the airport. Usually my dad. And he takes me back to my parents' house. And usually my flight comes in the middle of the night, so like he has to either stay up late or wake up early.
Okay.
And then he'll just go right back to bed. And then I'll be in my parents' house, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And it's so quiet.
Nothing.
I freak out a little bit.
Yeah.
I have to immediately like put on my headphones and listen to music or something because it's so dead quiet.
Yeah. That's what I'm worried about too, especially for my wife, because if she goes back and she like, for her, I'll say it's so fucking noisy and crowded here, and she'll be like, oh, it's so rural, it's like lively.
Yeah, lively.
She'll say it's lively. I'm like, no, it's fucking claustrophobic, and to her it's lively.
Yeah.
So I'm worried she'll go back to US and it won't be lively enough.
Yeah, especially in
It'll
Colorado.
be boring.
Like 6 miles from your nearest neighbor.
Yeah. So that's why I'm gonna try to get a smoke weed, and then
Yeah.
everything's lively.
That will make her. That will make her paranoid.
You're in the living room. It's lively. It's like, what was that sound like? Fucking lively is live wire, man. So.
Something weird about America is like if I'm in America and I look out my window and I see somebody,
yeah,
you're immediately alarmed because there's not supposed to be somebody there.
Yeah. Whereas here, you can look out. There's hundreds of people.
Here, as long as somebody isn't in my bed with me, then it's not unusual.
Yeah. It's like, oh, it's a person.
Yeah.
This is a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
They're fucking everywhere, so at all times.
Like you're in a taxi and they stop for extra people sometimes? That always pisses me off.
That pisses me off as well.
Yeah. And they try to get like 10 people in the fucking taxi.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited though. I'm just so excited to... I have the same feeling that I had when I first came to China, where I'm going to somewhere where I'm totally unprepared to go there. I don't have a plan. I'm just going to figure things out.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, that's the best time to go back, rather than feeling like you came here and didn't experience it all, and it was like, oh, I guess I'll go back. It's like you've had your fill. You're ready to go home. Sounds like a good place to be.
I'm glad I didn't fall into alcoholism like a lot of people do here.
Yeah.
They become sort of hopeless. I'm also glad I didn't get roped into any businesses here. I didn't get stuck here, you know. If you are on the line for a contract or you put a bunch of money down, it would be easy to feel like you can't leave and you have to just accept this place for all its faults, which would be a really rough position to be in.
That'd be rough.
I don't really have a plan in America. I was looking at how much you can sell a table for on Etsy the other day. But apparently you can sell tables for a lot of money. People will buy handmade
Based
tables.
on the quality of the wood or the craftsmanship?
No idea. I didn't look that deeply into it. But I saw like $1,500 tables on there.
Made out of like...
wood.
But what kind?
Fuck knows. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
It could be like...
It's probably like...
the wood from like the Pope's... tree?
It's probably from like the Neolithic age.
Yeah.
Like fucking bog wood from Central Africa.
It has like a fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex pop print.
Yeah.
Etsy, no, that's cool though. That's I like that you could just be doing your own thing. That's cool.
That would be my plan. My goal is to try to work from home, especially if I have a family. I don't like the idea of one or both parents being out of the house all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure that we both kind of grew up with that kind of thing going on, and I think it's unfair to the parent who's always away.
It is,
because it's almost impossible for the kids to get to know that person.
Or if both are away, that's fucked too.
Yeah, I can't accept that.
Yeah.
I don't care who's the breadwinner, but somebody has to stay home with the kids.
Yeah.
I won't accept grandparents or a nanny raising children.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Can't accept that.
Yeah. You just gotta see how you can swing it. I think that's the main thing. That's why I'd like to look at doing something like that in the future. For me, I think going home, ideally, I'd want to work in a company where I was mainly like a bridge between the U.S. and China. Yeah. That's why I've been trying to learn Chinese, trying to get into project management, so then try to find, ideally, and of course it's all ideally, it's just talking, but some kind of company that's doing projects in China. And then I could be the guy in the middle of it, like conducting the communication, checking in on things.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be ideal. And then that could potentially be something done remotely, but I don't know. I think for my wife, she's an accountant, that could be done remotely too. That sounds like the best to me. You work from home, take care of your kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that is the ideal situation. If both parents work and they both work from home, I think that might be ideal.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Because it's not like children want to be with their parents all the time. Like, I remember growing up, my mom stayed home, but I never, like, spent time with her. I was always off doing my own thing. Yeah. It's, like, it's surprising how busy a child can make themselves between toys and video games and your imagination and all that shit.
Yeah. I always had lots of shit going on.
Exactly.
Like Legos.
Yeah, fucking whatever. Busy building a Lego empire. Yeah.
That's true. You need someone there.
But yeah, having a parent there all the time, it really has a massive effect.
For me, like, almost becoming a parent, of course, being nervous, excited, scared, everything. I just think just being there is, that's what people say, like, it's a cliche, but being there is, like, but it's not easy. That's the thing. That's why it's a cliche. It's like, if you're there for your kids, because there's, like, I'll try to research, I'll try to be a good parent, I'll try to do whatever. I'm gonna fuck up. I know I'll fuck up.
Yeah, naturally.
I fuck up all the time, and so I think I'll try my best to be available. But it can be hard, I'm sure.
I don't have any kids, obviously, so I'm gonna speak from ignorance here. But I wouldn't be surprised because life is filled with like tragic irony. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if part of the irony of life is that you recognize the mistakes your parents made, and then when you have children, you try to fix those mistakes, but then you make new mistakes that your parents didn't make. And then your kids try to fix those, and it's like a cycle where you can
goes
never...
back and forth, like overcorrecting, then the kids fucked up in the other way.
Yeah.
The opposite of how you were fucked up. And so they fuck their kids up like you.
Yeah, exactly.
So then, that'd be interesting.
It's an endless cycle of that.
But at least, like, kids and their grandparents get along because they were both fucked up in the same way by their parents.
Absolutely, that would make sense.
That's funny. Yeah, I think that's how it is. So I think it's just accepting that. No matter what you're going to do, you're going to put in 18 years hard work and then your kid will resent you.
Well,
but then hopefully eventually they get the perspective to appreciate.
Yeah.
Even if they're 25 by that time, you're like 50, 60, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice consolation.
Nice consolation, exactly.
Fucking 25 years of slaving away for someone who doesn't appreciate something.
Well, that's what they always say, right? It was like your kids just, you work so hard so that you can have ungrateful children.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like I go out of my way to learn skills that I don't know because there are some things that have more value than what they literally are. So like I was talking about earlier, how much time I waste learning things that have no practical use in my life, like how to cut down a tree with an axe, or like how to like fix a chainsaw motor. Like I'll probably never own a chainsaw. However, if one day I'm in a situation where I need to build a chair, and previously I learned how to build a chair, I would like to build a chair with my children, not because we need a chair or because I think it's important for them to know how to build a chair, but for them to have the experience, the memory of building the chair with their father.
Yeah, that's true. A good memory with my dad was...
That fell so far.
Well, I don't like to like...
A memory.
Yeah, a good memory. A good memory. I still like to be hyperbolic. Okay. But a good memory, the best memory in my entire life with my dad was we built like a patio. I remember we had to move like, I think it was like 4 tons. That sounds ridiculous, but 4 tons, or at least tons, literal tons of sand and then gravel and then like flagstone.
Yeah, it's probably not ridiculous. Those are heavy things.
Yeah, from like the front yard, which was raised, down to the backyard, which was like down a slope. So he's putting in a wheelbarrow. It was like 100 trips, and then we had to build this patio. It was just awesome. It was just good. Taught me like, fucking life sucks. Sometimes, but at the end you have a patio, and that patio is still there.
You should have built like a slide and toss stuff down the slide. See?
Trying to inception the greatest memory of my life.
I forget who I heard say this. I think it was Steve Jobs. And he said if he has a difficult job to do in his company, he won't give it to the hardest working person. He'll give it to the laziest person because the lazy person will think of a creative way to get it done easily.
That's true. But you could try sliding sand down sand too. See how that goes for you.
Yeah. Sand doesn't sound like it slides very well.
Just sliding sand down sand. No, but yeah, you could have slid it down and then they broke.
Yeah. So just throw bricks at your 10-year-old son. Catch!
That's fucking memory building. Yeah, it seems horrible. It seems tough being a dad, especially.
Yeah, I don't think, again, speaking from pure ignorance, it doesn't seem like the purpose of a parent is to be the friend of the child.
Yeah.
And the only reason I feel like I can speak about this is because we've both been teachers. And after 4 years, I've had thousands of students.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious who has good parents and who doesn't. And the people who have good parents, their parents are not their friends.
Yeah.
Their parents are mentors. Their parents are structural entities in their life. Educationally structural.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that creates good children, it seems like.
Yeah. That's true.
And the kids who are like buddy-buddy with their parents, or they hate their parents, those kids are fucked up.
Yeah.
somewhat equal it. All right, that seems like a good place to end it. Thank you, everyone, coming back to another bullshit in video games. Catch you in the next episode. Thank you, Max,
Thanks
for coming
having me. I'm sure my fan base, as an influencer, will be happy to follow the bullshit video games podcast.
Yeah. Send your followers from Instagram over there. Your IG followers.
If we could even get 20% of my 10 million followers, I mean...
Yeah, that would be almost 2 million people.
Yeah, you'll be doing well enough for you. But thanks for having me on and inviting me to this wonderful studio.
Oh, yeah, the beautiful concrete blocks with really harsh fluorescent whites that give me migraines.
Green foam.
Yeah.
None of the chairs work, but it's been
I'm surprised that one's held.
Well, I'm leaning against
the wall is holding most of the weight.
Yeah.
All right, anyone. Thank you for listening. Yeah. Catch you in the next episode. Do all that stuff down below. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Yada, yada. You know what to do. Take care. Bye-bye. Bless. Oh, God. Oh, God's involved now,
huh? Trying to cut it and fucking cut out your ass.
How am I gonna find man I'm supposed to be? The man I am